Hello viewers. So if I say to you go to, so you will ask me where should I go? Then I would say to you go to school, go to college, go to market, then you will understand. If I say to the computer go to and click outside, so it will complain. Go to where? So it is saying compile error, expected line number or label. So now I have to specify some line number or label. So let's see what is a label. So label is nothing but a bookmark. It conforms to the variable naming convention. So when you name a label, so it should follow all the rules that a variable follows. So it cannot start with a number, it cannot contain embedded blank space, so there cannot be a blank space like this, and it cannot contain special characters except for underscore. So if I try to run this, so it says variable not defined, so I have to name the label properly. So now it will run. So label is a non-executable code, so it will not execute. So you can create as many labels as you want. So let's create some label 1, label 2. So it is a kind of a marker or a bookmark, you can say, label 3. And if I execute this once again, see, the execution will not stop on the label. The cursor will not stop on the label, so you can see the labels are never highlighted. Now let's say go to, and now I have to specify a label. So if I specify, so label 3, and if I press F8, see what happens now. It will jump to the next line following label 3. You can give a label 2. So if I press F8, so it will go to the next line following label 2. And again you can specify label 1. Now see what happens. It will jump back to label 1. Again it will jump back to label 1. So for now, just understand how Goto works. Don't bother about where it can be used or where it cannot be used. So people will tell you like Goto should never be used and it's a very bad programming practice. So I would say absolutely not. So if you know how to use it, you can always use it actually. So people say that Goto creates a spaghetti code. So spaghetti means noodles, so it's very convoluted, mixed up, but it is not true. So you should know how to use it actually. Now let us look at the types of error. So I have written a very simple statement, dim I as integer. Now what if I write dim as j integer? So it will give an error, compile error. So note this is a compile error. So compilation is a process where the VBA compiler checks your code for syntactical error. So what is a compiler? Compiler is again a program. So it will check your code and it will tell you if there is any syntactical or grammatical error or not. But what if I write I equals to some text? Now this is also an error. So I is an integer. So integer cannot hold a string, but we are not getting any error right now. Once we run it using F8, now we will get the error. So this type of error is called runtime error. The error that we get when we execute the program. So these are called runtime error. So there are two types of error. One is compiled and the other error is runtime error. So think of it in this way. So if I tell you go kitchen milk get, so you will not understand. But if I tell you go to the kitchen and get the milk for me, you will understand. So this is a grammatical error or similar to a compile error. But let's say you go to the kitchen and you don't find any milk. So again, you will come back and complain that there is no milk. So this kind of error is called a runtime error. So unless and until you go to the kitchen and find out if there is milk or not, so you cannot know that whether there is actually milk available or not. So you can only find the runtime errors when you execute the program. So there is one more difference between a compiled and a runtime error. So if I write something such as dim as I as integer, so this is a compiled error. You can see there is no error number. There is no number. It is just the description. Let's take another example. So if I just write for, it is saying expected variable, but there is no error number. Now let's look at a runtime error. So if I execute this program, now this time I get a runtime error and the error has a number. So every runtime error in VBA has a number, but the compiled errors, they don't have a number. They are just information which is displayed on screen. So what is an ERR object? So ERR is an inbuilt object in VBA which gives you information about any runtime error. So the best way to find out what ERR does is to type ERR and press Shift F2. So this will bring up the object browser, and you can see that ERR is a part of the information class and function ERR as ERR object. So if I click on this, so ERR is a function which returns an ERR object. So if I click on this, you can see that the ERR object has properties which is number and there are a lot of properties, but the number and description are of importance to us. So what you can do is you can type ERR and select it and press Shift F9. So Shift F9 will bring up the quick watch window, and you can add this object to the quick watch. Now you can also add I to the quick watch by pressing Shift F9. Select it and press Shift F9 and add it. So right now it will show us out of context because the program is not running right now. No memory has been allocated. So no worries. So just let me add it. And this is a quick watch window. So you can also add a variable to the quick watch by going to the debug menu and selecting quick watch. So before that, always remember that you have to select the expression. So you can either select a variable or you can select the entire expression and it will return you true false. And you can go to quick watch and add this expression if you want. Now let's execute this. Let me delete this ERR. So ERR is an inbuilt object. It has got properties. So number is one of the property. So if I write this and press enter, so ERR.number is 0 and ERR.description is blank. Now let's execute this using F8 and keep a watch in this area. Now let's press F8. Now see what happens. Immediately when this program starts, you can see the value of I is 0, which is the default value, and ERR, since this is an object, it has got properties, so there is a plus symbol around it. So if you click on this plus symbol, so it will show you the various properties. You can see that the error number is 0, ERR.number is 0, and ERR.description is blank. Now let's continue with the execution. If I press F8, I is now 0, and you can see I is 0 here. And if I press F8 further, you can see here I has now changed. I is now 10. Now if I press F8, see I became 20, but ERR.number is still 0 and ERR.description is still 0. Now let's press F8 and once again let's press F8. Now see, some error occurred, runtime error 13 type mismatch. So let me click on this debug. Now see what happens. So you can see here the err object is now filled. So err.number is 13 and err.description is type mismatch, the same message which we got while executing that line. Let me press F8 once again. So this will not allow you to go forward. So you have to either debug it or end it actually. So we have seen what is an ERR object. So ERR object gives you information about any runtime error. Now let's see what is error handling. So what I mean by error handling is that let's execute this program first. So this program ends abruptly. So what if I don't want this program to end abruptly? So there is no way that you can go ahead and proceed. So either you have to debug or end this. So error handling is a technique through which you can make a program continue to execute even if there is an error. So how do you do that? So let's take an example. So let's use this syntax called on error resume next. Now let's execute this, and also let me add this to the watch window by pressing Shift F9, and also let me add the ERR object, ERR, and just press OK. And let me delete this I and the old ERR. Now take a look at this ERR object. So it is still empty. There is nothing actually. Error number is 0. Description is also blank. So it's a 2 double quotes. So now let's execute this. Press F8. Now this line will throw an error. Let's press F8. But we did not get any error message. This time we did not get any error message like it appeared earlier. So let me stop this and let me comment this line and let me execute. We will get an error message, something like this. Microsoft Visual Basic error message. But if we put this line on error resume next and then execute it, we will not get any error message. But however, you can see here that the error object has now filled. So it has an error number which is 13 right now, and there is an error message which is type mismatch. And let me press F8 once again. Now see, the value of x has changed. X is 10. Now let me press F8 once again. Now x is 20. But still the error object is filled. The number is 13. The description is type mismatch. So this is what on error resume next does. So it will help you to continue the execution of the program even if there is an error. No matter how many errors are there, the program will continue. So let's take another example. Let's say x equals to 10 divided by 0. So division by 0 is again an error. So in mathematics, division by 0 is not defined, and in computer programming, division by 0 is an error. So let's execute this. So keep an eye on the error object. So the first error that you get is type mismatch, and if I execute this line, you get an error division by 0. And if I continue to execute, the last error which appeared, it stays in the memory. So you can say that the ERR object is a memory location. So whenever there is an error, VBA will fill that memory location with the information of the error. So let's press F8. Now let's look at this statement called on error go to 0. So on error go to 0 resets the error handler. So everything becomes normal once again. So what I mean by that? So let's me put on error go to 0 in this line and let's execute this. F8, F8, F8. So on error resume next. So I am saying if there is any error, ignore it and continue. Let me press F8. So there is an error, you can see here, type mismatch error. Now what happens when this line gets executed? Let's see. F8. See, the error is gone and everything came back to normal. What I mean by normal? Now if there is an error, see, we get an error message. So the error handler came back to its normal state. It returned to its normal state. So that is what on error go to 0 does. So on error go to 0, it negates the effect of on error resume next. It cancels the effect of on error resume next. So let me show you another example here. So if I execute this program, what if I click on this cancel? Let's see. We get an error type mismatch. So how do I handle this error? So again I will put on error resume next, and if I execute now, so if I cancel this, okay, please enter the second number, cancel, and F8, no message, nothing. So the program executes. So if I just press F5, cancel, cancel, and nothing. So there is no proper message. So user will not able to understand anything. So what you need to do is, so before that, let me put a title also. So title is the optional parameter for input box. So let me put it error handling, and let me copy this and put a title here also. Now let's press F5. So I get a proper title this time, error handling. Let me cancel, cancel, nothing happens. So what you can do here is you can check if err.number is equal to 13, then, and if, so how do I know this number 13? Because if I remove on error resume next and if I test it, let me comment this also. So you have to create an error scenarios. To do an error handling, even if there is no error, you have to manually create an error scenario to get the error number. Let me press F8. So let me click on cancel. So I'm creating an error scenario here. I'm creating cancel deliberately, intentionally. Let me click on cancel and I get a runtime error 13. Now I'll handle this error 13. So I know the error number now. Error number is 13. So I can write an if condition. If error.number is 13, then I can display a message box. And message box has a parameter called VB critical. So second parameter is button, the button style, VB message box style or the message box style. So what you can do is you can select VB critical, and I told you how to call a function to using the call keyword and using a parenthesis. Now let's see what happens. If I press F8, please enter the first number. Let me click on cancel. So error.number is now, you can see if I do error.number, error.number is 13, but there is no message box which is displayed. So there is no prompt anything because I mentioned on error resume next, just move ahead. But the error object is filled in the memory to indicate that there is an error. Now let's see what happens. You should enter a value for value of first number. See, and I get this symbol because what I selected is this VB critical as the second parameter. Okay, let me put a proper message here. You should enter a value. Let me put in word numeric, a numeric value for first number. And what if I want to terminate the program? So right now what happens is that if I do F8, so if I click on cancel, I get a message box. You should enter a numeric value for first number, but the execution continues. Please enter second number. So there is no meaning of second number. If the first number is incorrect, so division cannot happen, right? Division happens between two numbers and both the numbers should be proper. So what I can do is I can write a statement called exit sub. Exit sub is again a keyword. So you can see this is in blue color. So this is a keyword. So this will help you to exit from this sub procedure. So if you are inside a sub procedure and you want to exit the sub procedure, you can use exit sub. If you are inside a function, similarly you can use exit function. So think of it in this way. If you are inside a car, you will say exit car. You will not say exit truck or exit bus. If you are inside a bus, you will say exit bus. You will not say exit car, right? So be careful with that. Now let's see what happens. So if I press F8, please enter first number. I click on cancel and I check error.number equals to 13. And let me do one thing. So also let me add this Err object in the watch window by pressing Shift F9 and clicking on add. See, it is right now type mismatch. And then it will display a message. You should enter a numeric value for first number and then it will exit. See, so it jumped out of the sub procedure. Now it is looking meaningful. And what you can do is to make things little simpler. Instead of checking for any error number, specific error number, what you can check is if err.number not equals to 0. If there is any error, no matter whatever the error number is, like if there is any error, the error number will be a non-zero value. So error number will be 1, 2, 3, 5 or whatever. So if there is no error, error.number will be 0. So if I execute this, err.number is, let me click on cancel. Err.number is not equals to 0. So yes, it is not equals to 0 and it will give a very descriptive message and it will terminate. So there is another way of handling the error, and one more thing you should remember is that whenever you use this on error resume next, always remember to negate it using on error go to 0 to get the error handler back to the original state. So if you write on error go to 0, this will not execute here. So you have to write on error go to 0 inside. So before the exit sub also. Sorry. So you can write it here or wherever you want actually. Now it will, sorry, let me name it as 2. Now let me execute this. Please enter first number. Let me click on cancel. Now on error go to 0. Now let me once again add this to the watch window and remove the old value. You can see the error number is 13. Now see what happens. On error go to 0, the error is cleared and then it will display a proper message box and it will exit. So there is another way of handling the error. So you can write something like on error go to some label, go to some handler, and you can define a handler at the very end, just above the end sub. If there is any handler, it will skip all the other code. If there is any error is encountered, it will skip all the other code and it will jump to the location just above the end sub so that it can exit the sub procedure. And before this, you will write a statement called exit sub. If you are inside a sub procedure, you will write exit sub, or if you are inside a function, you will write exit function. So this is the structure. So let me delete this This is the structure. On error, go to handler. So there will be a lot of other codes here, whatever code like there will be a lot of codes, and at the very end you will write exit sub, then a handler, and then if you want to display some message box some error occurred, or you want to check the error number and take a decisive action, so that also you can do. So this is the structure. So now let me do a Control Z. On error, go to handler. So I am not checking the error number here, so because if there is any error it will jump to the handler. So this is a very generic way of handling the error. So you don't need exit sub, so you don't need a message box so here. So you will take two numbers as input and you will display the division of that number as output, and just above the end sub you will put this handler, and above the handler you will put the exit sub, and after the handler you will display a generic message box, very generic message box, some error occurred, some error occurred. Now if I press F8, now let's see, let me cancel this, and I get a message, some error occurred. You can also display the error number if you want. Ampersand VBCRLF. VBCRLF is for new line. Let me put two new lines, and then err.number and ampersand, again one line gap, and err.description. So let me remove one line from here. Yeah. Now let me execute this by pressing F5. I click on cancel. I get some error occurred, 13 type mismatch. So what you can do is, like, some error occurred, VBCRLF, and error number and a colon and an ampersand. You can break this line using an underscore, error.number and description, ampersand error.description. Now let's see, let me click on cancel. So it will throw an error and I'll get some error occurred, error number 13, description type mismatch. So there is no line gap actually, so you can put a line gap if you want, one more line gap using VBCRLF. So VBCRLF is a constant, so it's an inbuilt constant. If you just press type the value VBCRLF and press enter, so it's a line feed carriage return. So VBCRLF stands for carriage return line feed, and the prefix VB stands for Visual Basic, because this is a Visual Basic constant, or you can say it's a VBA constant. So I put another VBCRLF. Now let's see the error message. F5, cancel. So this time you get an additional line gap. So there are two lines. So one is this enter, enter, and enter. So two VBCRLFs. And one more keyword that you need to know here is that resume. So if you put resume, so it will again go back to the line where the error happened. So you should only use resume once you have kind of handled that error, or let's say, let me show you what happens. So please enter first number. I click on cancel. Some error occurred. Okay. Again it is asking please enter first number. I click on cancel. Some error occurred. So until and unless I enter the proper value, this will continue. Please enter second number. Again if I cancel, again some error occurred. Again it will ask me please enter second number, 4. So 3 divided by 4 is 0.25, or 1 divided by 4, I guess. So how this is working? So if error occurred in this line, it is coming here, jumping here. On error, go to handler, so it will jump here, it will display the message box, and I have written resume, go back to the line, go back to the same line which caused the error. If I write resume next, now let's see what happens. It will go to the next line. It will not go to the line which caused the error. It will go to the next line. Let me press F5. Please enter first number. Let me click on cancel. So error occurred, and now please enter the second number. So it did not ask me the first number again. Let me cancel. Now some error occurred. Again some error occurred. Description overflow. Why? Because once I clicked on some error occurred on this line, it jumped here. Okay, then it like resume next. It came here, divide by 0. So 0 divided by 0. I and j are integer, default value is 0. 0 divided by 0 is a division error. So what you can do is, so it is not stopping. Using F8 it is not stopping. So what you can do is you can put a debug point. Just click here. Now see, now let's press F8. Please enter first number, cancel. It jumps here, F8. Some error occurred. It comes here. Resume next. Resume next. It goes to the next line. Again cancel. Again jumps here. Some error occurred. Resume next. So this line, this is the line which caused the error. Now resume next. It will go to this line. And if you want to see the error number, err.number 13, type mismatch. Okay, no problem. So resume next will go to this line. F8. Again 0 divided by 0 is error, F8. So if you want to check the error number, err.number 6, err.description overflow, and see, you will get the same error, F8, error number 6, description overflow, and then resume next. So this was the line. Now it will go to this line, exit sub. So if you don't write the exit sub, it will come here. It will display message box, unnecessary message box. So always remember the structure. So once again I will show you the structure. So in this type of error handling, so this is pretty simple error handling. So you will write on error, go to handler, and in the handler you will write, and one more thing you need to write is on error, go to 0, and on error, go to -1. So if you use on error, resume next, to negate this you have to use on error, go to 0. If you use on error, go to handler, to negate this or to cancel this you have to use on error, go to 0, and on error, go to -. So this is a colon. So you can write this in two different lines also. So you can combine multiple statements in a single line using a colon. So I don't recommend this, but since this is interconnected, so on error, go to 0, on error, go to -1. So I have combined these two lines. So once this line is executed, the error is deleted from the memory. So be careful where you write it. So you will not write it immediately after the handler, else the error message or error number will be gone actually. Now let's execute this, F8. And before that, let me put this error object in. So let me delete the old value, and now let me go to debug, add watch, err. Okay, so error is 0, F8. Please enter first number. Let me click cancel. I get type mismatch. Okay, type mismatch. Resume next. Please enter second number. So let me click on cancel. Some error occurred. Resume next. It will come to this line. Again error, 0 divided by 0. And finally resume next, exit sub. So you know what does resume do and what resume next do. So this is a very rare scenario where you need to use resume next. So whenever the first error occurred, you will exit the program. So this is the most common way of handling. So whenever any error occurred, so it is easy. It is also an easy way. Whenever the first error occurred, display a message box and reset the error handler and exit the program. So the first error occurred, it will jump here, it will display message box, some error occurred, error number 13, description type mismatch, and it will exit the program. So instead of some error occurred, you can write something like you must have entered a wrong value. You must have entered a wrong value. F5. Let me put a string. Again, this will also cause the type mismatch error. Let me click on OK. You have entered a wrong value, type mismatch. Let me press F5. Let me click cancelled. Same message, type mismatch, and it will exit. So these are the two basic ways of handling an error. And many people will say to you that you should not use on error resume next. But I say that when you use on error resume next, be careful. So use it on a single line. So you can just check a error for a single line. So on error resume next, on error go to 0. And before this, you need to check what is the error. If some error occurred, if error.number not equals to 0, then you need to take a corrective action. And you have to decide whether you want to exit this sub procedure or you want to display a message box and continue ahead. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and click on the bell icon for notification.